Let's make the Full Earth Workshop Mercury Astronaut Upgrade Kit. Hi, my name is Doug. Let's get to work. This is one of our most popular kits here at the Full Earth Workshop. It's because of the 12-inch G.I. Joe that was introduced back in the 60s, then reintroduced in the 90s. But the G.I. Joe was rather inexpensive and just not a very accurate figure. Let's make it better. Here you see the three basic parts of the helmet. Here's the transparent visor that's been vacuum formed. You can see that it fits the visor frame itself very well. And looking at the helmet, you'll see it's detailed on the inside and on the outside. This helmet kit has been constructed from FDM, Fused Deposition Modeling. All the detail is there, but we'll have to do a little bit of sanding. Just compare it to the G.I. Joe helmet for detail. Much, much better. The good news is, if you want to use the visor from the G.I. Joe and the one you have is in pretty good shape, you can do it with the Full Earth Workshop Mercury Helmet. Here I reveal one of my secret weapons when I do modeling. I love this Tamiya putty. The reason being, it dries quickly. Literally just wait about a minute, you're ready to go. I also recommend using the Tamiya putty on the visor frame. It's very important to smooth that area out because it needs to resemble aluminum. Wow, check the stopwatch. Man, it's time to go to work. The area that needs the most attention is at the crown of the helmet because that's the way FDM closes up the part. You'll see some rings there. So I suggest using 220 sandpaper, do the initial work, a little bit more Tamiya putty, and then go at it with 400 sandpaper. Guess what? It'll be very smooth very quickly. I also prefer Tamiya's products when it comes to primer because it's very thin. It takes a little longer to dry, maybe about an hour or so, and then you can start masking, getting ready for painting. Here I'm using an airbrush, but you can also use a spray can. I recommend a spray can over a brush because when you brush, you can get a little too much paint on the brush, and the paint tends to leak underneath the masking tape. Oh man, this is like grabbing a ripe orange. The fun is in the peeling. And this is the place in the build where you get solid confirmation that you've been doing it right. Make sure you spray on the paint. Brushes are fraught with disappointment. The rubber seal around the visor is the most critical area, and that's where I use this little pinstriping tape. Again, it's probably Tamiya because it gives you a nice crisp edge. Here you'll see it maybe takes a little touch-up, but that's fine. As long as it's not near the edge, touch-ups are easy. One interesting point, all of the Mercury 7 helmets are different. These helmets were changed literally from flight to flight. This helmet is in the collection of the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. It's John Glenn's training helmet, has a beautiful arc right at the top of the visor opening. This is the helmet that John Glenn wore for the photo session for Time magazine. What you've just seen is painting metal parts black first and then silver afterward. You'll end up with a much more silver-looking finish if you do that. To help paint smooth lines, I suggest dropping water in the area first and then paint, and you'll be amazed the paint flows right to the edge where the water was put in. When painting the helmet bearing, you can do this with a brush easily. Just make sure you put your left and right hands down on the table. It'll help to steady your hand. If you happen to have any imperfections in the white color of the helmets, take this time to go in and just touch them up with white because it's going to be covered over with clear coat. You won't even be able to see those little touch-ups. I mentioned this earlier, if you would like to take the easy route, you can use the visor from an original G.I. Joe helmet. It's not quite as detailed, but it is pretty easy to do. Just drill a couple of holes in the helmet, then you can use the pins from the G.I. Joe figure. Let's prepare the visor from the much more accurate Full Earth Workshop helmet. It requires using double-sided tape. I use Tessa tape, which is very, very sturdy tape. Now let's examine the vacuum form. There are different radiuses for the top and bottom. Just fit it by sight and you'll know which one to use. Then with scissors, very sharp ones, cut right along that edge. When you get done with the cutting, you'll notice that the vacuumed form part basically just snaps right into the visor frame. From here, I just prefer to sand the edges, make them real smooth, then peel off the double-sided tape and stick that clear part into place. With this wonderfully strong Tessa tape, you'll need to leave this part in place for about 2-3 minutes, and then it is in there for good. When the vacuum form is in place, the visor will no longer go up and down, so you'll just want to put a spot of glue right and left and just snap it into place. And take a look at this beautiful result. For vintage space gear and other crazy cool hobby stuff, fullearthworkshop.com.